In today's session, we'll be discussing how to create graphs in Excel. We'll also discuss the types of graphs to choose on depending on the data that you have. So Excel has different graphs you can choose from. They have your columns, your tree map, sunburst. Here they have line charts, area charts, your histogram, box and whisker. They have maps here also. You have your scatters, your bubbles. You have your pie charts and your donut charts. So let's get on it. So how would you go about creating a graph in Excel is you would go to your pivot tables. So just click anywhere within your pivot table, and then as you see the pivot table analyze and design will appear. You go to the pivot table analyze, and underneath here there's an option of pivot chart. So if you click on that, Excel will automatically create a chart for you. So that's an easy part. However, that is tricky if you don't understand like graphs and how to go about like what is the perfect graph to choose. But this is like the simplest method of how you can get started with creating a graph. Let's just make an example of the other ones. So again, you click on your pivot table, you go to pivot table analyze, and then you have this option. So as you can see, it just chooses for you which, after seeing your data, what types of graphs it wants you to use. Let's use an example of this one again. You repeat the same step, and then we have this one. However, at times you may get tired of only just seeing bar graphs, and you'd want to change that. So how you would go about changing the graph that Excel has chosen for you is you would go to the graph, right click on it, and here there is change chart type. So as you hover onto, as you can see, it gives you like different options here of what you can use. So there are options now of, okay, you want the column charts, you want the line charts, and then there are a lot of different lines you can choose from. If you want the pie chart, if you want any other. So within this one, let's just change it to, so if maybe you wanted this one, then your chart will automatically change. So creating a chart in Excel, it's not only restricted to if you have pivot tables. So for in other examples, maybe you already have this aggregated data and you want to create like your graphs in that, because with some softwares, like the graphs that I know with Stata, the graphs are not really nice in Stata. So at times you may want to recreate some of the graphs if you are putting it in a report. So let me just make an example. So just copy this data here and paste it here. So you would have like data that you would have taken, even if it's from a report, and you want to create something like an infographic, or put it in a presentation that you're going to show to somebody else. So you'd highlight your data. Usually on the Windows, you get an option somewhere here to choose a graph, but for this example, you go to insert, and then with insert you have different options, which I think you saw did appear within like the when we're doing a pivot table, but it's still the same thing. So here you could go to recommended charts. So Excel really recommends you like the different types of charts that it thinks your data would be better summarized in. You also have a choice of choosing the different choosing the different charts here that are being presented. So let's just choose this one here. So there is an option also. I've seen a lot of people choose that option. Let me just delete this one, and then we can copy this one and place it here. So there is an option that I've seen where people opt to choose. So you see that we have 2D column charts and we have 3D column charts, and I've seen that sometimes people, I don't know if it looks nice or why they choose 3Ds, but from my personal opinion, let's delete this one so that it's easier for us to see, and maybe we could, yeah, let's do this. So yes, so here we have the same charts which are showing the same data. Obviously they don't have we don't have labels as yet. We'll touch that as we go along, but I just wanted to show you a difference here with the 3D and the column D. So with the 2D, this is my personal opinion, I think you can actually see the differences with the charts and the data. Actually it's coming out nicely as compared to the 3D. What I picked up, if you compare like the education bar and the education bar, here our label is at if you can see the axis here is at 10. So we have 10 registrations here for education, and we are meant to see it here on the 3D is still 10. However, if you follow this line, because it's a bit skewed, it seems like the education is underneath the 10, the line 10 here. So from like a naked eye, I think if you show data like this, especially without like the labeling and only the axis, it can skew your data and it can skew the view of the audience. So I just wanted to make you aware, if you choose a 3D column, in my personal opinion, I always prefer seeing graphs in 2D because I believe that they are clear. So in our next step, we're going to be discussing on which types of crafts you could choose for, so how you want to present the different types of your data that you have. So for instance, you want to compare values or you want to show a distribution. So we'll go into that in a moment. So there's this nice visual by Andrew Abela that I found, which I think it gives a clear depiction of what charts you can use for what type of data. For instance, if you wanted to do a composition, then it gives you like scenarios of, okay, if you're changing over time, these are the charts that you can choose. Is it a few periods? Is it many periods? Then it gives you like a list of the charts that you can choose. Are you looking, is it a static one? Then it gives you like, here's an option of a pie chart, there's a waterfall chart. However, if you were looking to maybe present a distribution, then there are options here also of distributions, but you also have to consider, is it few data points, many data points, 2 variables, 3 variables. It also has this option here of, okay, you could either choose like a histogram or a line histogram, a scatter chart. The same goes for when you're looking at a relationship. So these are like the type of questions you have to be asking yourself, and I think that this chart is good to guide, especially people who maybe are just starting in their journey there are questions that you can ask yourself, comparison. So you'll see that with some of the charts, especially a chart like a column chart or a bar chart, you can use them in like a lot of instances. However, but if you're doing a presentation, you don't want a presentation that's only just showing like your all column charts, because I think your audience will be bored. So there are like those different options that you can choose from and see. So this is a nice chart that I think it really can guide people who are just starting out in a journey, and even those who have been in the journey for so long. It is still a nice reference point to go back and ask yourself, okay, am I still following some of the rules? Am I still using the steps that I'm needed to use? So I think it's available in you can Google it and see. But yeah, I think this is a nice visual from Intru Abella that can help anyone who wants to develop a chart. So in a moment we'll go through the data that we analyzed in the previous episode and try to create charts using a similar approach here of okay, are we doing a relationship, are we doing composition, a distribution, or a comparison? So let's get right on it. So in this example we'll be showing the composition, which is just showing the parts of the whole. So the data that we'll be using is the sex data, the male and female data. So as I said, when you want to create a graph, you click on your pivot table and then you go to pivot table analyze, and then you will choose a pivot chart. So Excel automatically gives you this chart, which is a bar graph. This graph is a graph that you can use to show the differences in the male and the female. However, there are still other charts like a pie chart that you can choose from. So let's just try and create another chart. Go to insert, and then let's try firstly to see what other charts Excel recommends for this. It doesn't show. Let's go to a pie chart. So a pie chart is another chart that is useful to show a composition, parts of a whole which add up to 100. Especially if you only have like a few entries here. In this instance we have 2. So in this example, as you can see, we have a bar chart and a pie chart, and they're both still presenting the same information. Let's look at an instance where our data has been disaggregated by something else. Let's disaggregate our data. Let's just delete this. So we go to pivot table analyze, and as you remember, in order for us to analyze our data, we'll go to field list, and then our field list will appear. So let's look at discounts. So our data here, we have disaggregated it by the types of discounts that either the male and the female would have gotten. So we're going to try and create graphs for this and see which graphs Excel will pick for us, and then we can try and see which ones will be most suitable to present data like this. So firstly, you just click on that, and as you can see, it shows you. So here is a comparison, because you want to compare males and females by their early registration, like the types of discounts they have. This early registration, group discounts, and no discount. In this example, Excel still chooses like a column chart, and this column chart is the type of column chart where each aggregate here is a standalone. So then you can see the difference between, okay, the early registrations is lower, and then the people who didn't have discounts it's higher. But let's see another way of a different chart that we can use to still present the same information. Just copy that and paste it. So obviously a pie chart in this instance it wouldn't work. Let's try and change. Remember, you right click on your chart and then you go to change chart type. If you were to choose like a pie chart, it wouldn't make sense, just as you can see, because here you can't even see the disaggregation of discounts. Let's go back. So as I mentioned in the beginning, Excel gives you like options of the different charts that you can use. So knowing that you want to showcase like a composition and a comparison, you would click on, because the first one that we have here is this one. So let's try and use this one. So this is still another way that you can present the same information. Here it is still better to read, because now you only focus on the male, the females, and the males, and then it shows you, okay, where are the early registrations, group discounts, and the no discounts. So this is how you could present the same data. There is a way though of how you could present the same data by flipping your columns and your rows. So sometimes you don't want to disaggregate this by the sex, however you want to focus on the discounts. So you would shift so we had put columns here, we had put the discounts under columns 1 to 3, but now you want your data to focus on the discount and disaggregate that by the sex. So you would shift your columns here and rows. You'd put your discount under rows, and then so let me pause here for a bit. So this is still another way where Excel, you can show your data. So there's a line between the females here and the males. This is another way that you can use to show. However, it will be hard for you to like compare the differences. Well, that's my personal opinion anyway, that it's hard to read when it's like this. So then you could shift now. So when you shift your columns and your rows to now present the information by, okay, we want to firstly look at the discount. You can now see like, okay, you can now compare early registrations by the sex to say, okay, who within like between the males and females have registered earlier. There are no differences here, but within like the group discounts, it seems like, okay, the males had more group discounts than the females. It's still easier to read. These two are the same, and I think it could be on your discretion now on which graphs that you can use. However, as long as they're still telling the same story and they're easier to read. However, here you can make the graphs better, because for now we don't have data labels, and I was mentioned that we'll go into that in the next episode of how we could improve our graphs. But this is just an example of how you could present data if you were focusing on a comparison and a composition. In this next example, we'll be looking at how to present data, time series data. So we're still following the same method. So this is data for date of registration, which we've looked at only the months of registration. So here we want to see which month has a lot of registration, so that we could look at what encourages people to register and why a particular month has more registration than the others. So we'll still follow the same method. You click on your pivot table analyze, and pivot chart. I'm starting to believe that Excel really likes bar graphs, so it gives us this option of a bar graph here. However, there are other graphs that you can actually choose from in order to present time series data. So one example is a line chart. Let's just copy this so that we can compare the two. So just place it underneath here, and then you'll change your chart type, then go to line, then we'll just choose this one here. So as you can see, with the line chart, well, this is also my personal opinion, I feel like it's easier for you to see where there is a rise in registrations, and then when there's like a dump. Obviously here it's still visible, but however, because the line is so it's very thin, your eyes will go into looking at where are the peaks. So you see, like, okay, in April here there seems to have been a peak, and then there was a peak here. The data is not sorted here, but we'll discuss that in our next episode of how you could go about sorting your data, so that it could read from starting with January, February, just like that. But yeah, I think these are some of the things that you need to consider. That is why understanding your data and understanding the different types of graphs, I think it could help you decide to not just rely on Excel to help you choose the graphs, because as we've seen, it seems to like bar graphs a lot. However, there are some data that when you're presenting, it's not really suitable for it to be presented in a simple bar graph, or even if it was, there are other nicer graphs that you could present your data on. So next we'll be seeing how we could present data that is like using a map. So now we're going to be creating a graph to present geographic data. So here we have a list of the countries that the people who have registered come from. So let's try and see how to create that. It's still the same. You click on your pivot table, then you go here and pivot table chart. Yeah, as expected, Excel has given us an option of a bar graph, but I think for me, presenting the best way to present and visualize geographic data is usually in a map, because people are familiar with maps, and it just makes it more lively. So we'll change this. We'll try and change this and see what happens. So in an option of, you right click and then you go to change chart type, Then we're looking for a map here, and then I don't know if you see, it says that you can't create this chart type with the data inside a pivot table. So please select the different chart type or copy the data outside of the pivot table. So these are the other things that you need to be aware of when you are working with Excel. As I was saying, here is where now your knowledge comes in. You don't just depend on Excel, because it is a software. You have to tell it what you want it to do. So in an instance like this, you still, because you want a map, I mean, you've seen people developing a map, so you want to go about getting a map. So this means you might need to use a different method, which, as you saw, we may need now to like copy our data outside of the pivot table and put it somewhere else. So then we can just create that. So you will highlight all your data, and this is a useful method to learn, that one of inserting a bar, a graph. So you go to insert, then you choose a map, and it will show you a map here. It usually takes time for it to, because it uses, I think it uses Bing, so you could just refresh that. And so it does slowly take time to like build up your map, because I think it uses the internet, and it just grows. But as you can see, it's looking, this graph is looking much better than the one on top. So this is just some of the ways that you can use. You have to be ready to adapt, ready to change your method, in as much as a pivot table is, you can update it, it's automatically updated, but some of the visuals may need you to restructure your data differently. And I think understanding those concepts, they do help you when you are trying to develop graphs. And yes, I think this is where we'll end things. In the next session, we'll discuss on how then to improve your graphs in order for them to be presentable and understood by your audience.